Cracks in the cocoa story vindicated by this. In 1982, Terrace published a follow-up paper called Why Cocoa Can't Talk. And it's here where the cracks in the cocoa story start to become noticeable. If you're deranged enough to work your way through the backlog of scientific publications from Penny Patterson and the Gorilla Foundation, then you'll find that most of the data for gorilla language skills come from unpublished internal use video created by Patterson, as well as unpublished lists of Coco's sign lexicon. Their 1978 paper, Recording Gestures in Gorillas, is a descriptive paper, where Patterson describes Coco's earliest signs, but it's just that. A description. The 1990 study, like the 1978 one, is also descriptive. Patterson does provide an appendix and supplementary data, but it's threadbare information. It's a list of words and the order that Coco learned them. Patterson fails to provide any transcribed utterances. She relies on individual examples to support her interpretations. Without any sort of corpus of utterances, we can't glean anything useful from them, like finding the emergence of abstract rules. Patterson has never released any raw data or raw footage of her and Coco, which is an immediate red flag. It's claimed Coco has learned more than 2,000 signs and could make sentence structures, but there's very little in the way of raw data to actually prove this, which is an issue endemic in a lot of ape communications research. It's near impossible to verify the claims that apes have learned the number of signs that are being claimed. It's impossible to verify if Coco talks to herself, or babbles, or does any of the things that we observe in children. There's no hours and hours of raw film to sift through. To take from Professor Robert Sapolsky's lecture on human language.
And one problem at that point was there were no actual data that had ever been published by Patterson. All there were several heartwarming films of Coco and global warming and Coco and the trade deficit and Coco and this or that. And there were no data. Scientists couldn't make any sense of it because there were no numbers. There was no anything you can actually analyze.
And the available films aren't much better. Terrace has argued, like Nim, Coco's longer utterances are completely devoid of meaning. Things like mess red thirsty mouth thirsty and please milk please me like apple bottle. One of the few clips actually released by Patterson and Coco will involve things like this.
How do you say love? Oh. For sign language. How do you say love?
Can you show him how to say love? How do you say love? What? That flower. She's asking you about your cufflink. Is that a flower?
That's a sun. And my grandfather gave me the...
Sun. It looks like a flower, though.
It does look like a flower.
Can we talk a little bit about love? Frown? Oh, honey. What? Love? Love you.
Oh, it's that.
Says,
Oh.
love you, visit love.
Coco is brute forcing signs until she gets it right so she can get a treat, and Penny is either prompting Coco or she's rationalizing away Coco's wrong answers.
Wet. Wet is like thirsty. Dry is like thirsty. Wet is like candy, gums. What is like candy gums? Oh, did I forget something? I did not. Black? Nuts? You're polite. Yes, you are.
When you spot it, this overinterpreting and rationalizing away wrong answers starts appearing everywhere. Here's a chunk of the transcript from the AOL interspecies chat session of which Coco was a part. What are the names of your kittens and dogs? Candy give me. Okay. C give me. What's the name of your kitty? Kitty's name and dog's name. Foot. Foot. Foot isn't the name of your kitty. Hair lip. Oh, she wants to hear the lady on the phone. Maybe you can ask her that question? Coco, what's the name of your cat? No. Do you like to chat with other people? Fine nipple. Yes, that was her answer. Nipple rhymes with people, okay? She doesn't sign people per se, so she may be trying to do a sounds like, but she indicated was fine. Terrace's articles kicked off a series of, shall we say, less than polite letters between him and Patterson. Terrace argued that Patterson isn't providing any raw data for scientists to analyze, #release the Patterson cut, and Patterson's argument revolved around Terrace being bitter about the failure of Project NIM. She argues caregivers have to form close bonds with their apes so they can feel comfortable communicating, and NIM just cycled through teachers. There was no closeness between Terrace and NIM.
There wasn't one figure for NIM. There were 25 maybe that came and went. It's so difficult because it's based on relationships. It's not just based on, open the cage, new person, feed, ask question. They want to talk with someone they like.
But the closeness Patterson says is necessary means that the caregiver is the only person able to translate for the ape, which means there's a lot of interpreting being done by the translators. How much of it is the ape communicating, and how much of it is the human interpreting it? Like Washoe signing Waterbird to mean swan. That's us interpreting what Washoe is signing. Was she signing swan? She could have just as easily been signing the words water and bird. It could just be basic object recognition, rather than making compound words to produce something new. Terrace actually went over some of Washoe's raw data, and he included film traces in his study. In the longest film of Washoe's language drills, Teaching Sign Language to the Chimpanzee Washoe, Washoe makes 155 utterances, of which 120 were single signs, and they occurred mainly in vocabulary testing sessions. Washoe simply wasn't using sign language to communicate. Some counter that apes in research respond to human commands, and even if they are just mimicking signs, mimicry is a part of how we acquire language to start. But that's just it. The mimicking in human children gives way to language and non-mimicking behaviors. Apes never stop mimicking. Is training apes or birds to understand commands and mimic superficial aspects of language the same thing as language? Because you can teach a dog to follow human commands. Sit, lie down, roll over. Does that mean dogs understand English? Are apes doing anything more complicated than what your dog does when you call it for walkies? I'm not sure. Even the more saccharine stories of Coco get cast in a new light here. Like, fix Earth being Coco's last words? Like, what? Does Coco have an understanding of climate change? Did she school strike for climate? Did Penny read her IPCC assessment reports? Climate change and the environmental movements are things that matter to us. They motivate humans to action. Is it just a coincidence that one of the most pressing issues of our time also happened to be the last words of a gorilla who we are expected to believe managed to comprehend the connection between human action and climate change? No, says Snopes, because it was a doctored tape, and you can tell it is. It's filmed in jump cutter vision. The press release that actually accompanied the video says it was edited together from a number of other takes, and there's no transparency around how the video was made regarding what her signers were signing to her or other cues Coco could have been given, because of course there isn't. They don't release raw films. #release the Patterson cut. Unsurprisingly, Terrace's paper caused the whole field of ape communication to implode on itself. There was a big conference in 1980 where two researchers, Seebock and Rosenthal, effectively called the researchers in the field liars, cheats, and frauds, and actually called them liars, cheats, and frauds at the post-conference press release. Word got out, and the government bodies who funded this research, understandably scared of the backlash to spending millions on dead-end research, cut their funding almost immediately. And now we enter the really dark time.